everybody. I'm Laura Mulcahy with Kansas City Mom Collective, and today I am sitting with Christa Dubill. She is the Chief Communications Officer of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. We started chatting because both of us are moms, and we recently saw Toy Story 5 with our children, who we both have teenagers, and started this entire series with them when they were little, and now that they're big high schoolers and teenagers. But it really resonated with both of us because the topic of screen times, and especially in the summer. So we're going to have a conversation about screen times and development and what we can do as moms to help our children safely navigate this and the complicated world we're raising them in. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it is a pleasure. It's fun to get back in this world a little bit. As my kids have gotten older, you get busy with different things. But I so have followed this account and a lot of the mom groups in Kansas City for a long time. So it's a joy to be here.
Great. So with Toy Story 5 coming, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City reached out to us to have this conversation. Tell me, why is this topic so important to them?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have a whole lot of people who live and work and play here too. Many of them are parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and are around kids, whether they're little or they're a little older, and they've all been navigating this as well. Also, mental health is such a dear place for us. It's a really important topic that we continue to support in Kansas City, especially youth mental health, and really trying to give the support to kids who need it. It all has lasting health implications if we
Sure.
cannot figure out a way to support them at the right times in their lives. And so, just it matters personally, it matters professionally, it matters in our community. And so that's one of the reasons why when they were having conversations about this movie, it seemed like the right place to come chat with you.
For sure. So, I mean, the premise of the movie, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but is that she gets a new gift, and it's an iPad, and it's because her parents feel like she's getting left out of some of the groups. She's probably like young middle school. I don't remember if they actually say the age, but this actually really resonated with me because I have a 10-year-old. So how does this pop culture moment connect and with everything that's going on? I mean, I know I worry about that same thing because we've tried to delay a lot of social media in our house, and it's hard to see them lose that imaginative play while incorporating screens.
Yeah, I think that transition for kids has been going on for a long time, where they go from playing with toys into maybe having different interests as they get to different ages. It just so happens that we're in that time when technology and the digital world and devices is becoming part of that transition, and maybe that's happening earlier than maybe it used to, when kids might have been just playing with toys outside or being outside all the time. But I do think that we're in a moment where a lot of people are starting to make the shift where, even if they love technology and they love their devices and they love social media, as I am in all of those categories,
Sure.
so of my kids, wanting to recognize that there is value in the old school way of doing it. You see all these trending videos of like the 1980s with kids outside and
Yes,
coming home and
yes.
playing with old toys. And so I do think we're in a shift, and that's very common to have this pendulum swing. But as a parent, it's always something that was challenging because it's so hard as a parent, and there's so many different levels we could talk about. But one, keeping them safe when they're on their devices is a whole nother category than having access to devices that's affecting their mental state and their energy and their psyche. And so knowing we're talking more about getting sucked into the digital world that is built to keep their attention, and starting to affect their attention span for real life stuff and real life connections with people. I think that's what I love about the movie is it's sparking conversation. It's having people think about, how do you do that? And we were talking here at Blue, and the American Academy of Pediatrics in 2022 started this Center of Excellence for Social Media and Mental Health for kids. And they have a really great prompt for you to think about called the 5 Cs. I have to reference my notes here because I sometimes forget, but as we try to narrow something to just talk about, if you think about the 5 Cs, and then I am a huge proponent of kind of thinking specifically about how the kids are, and let's make it super simple and say, are they introverts or extroverts? So if you think about the first C as the child, specific to your child, And then if we just slice it, this is my slice, not the American Academy of Pediatrics,
Okay.
but just go introvert, extrovert, right? So very different experience if you've got an introvert 10-year-old than if you have an extrovert 10-year-old. The things that capture their attention, the things that they want, the void it might be filling, the thing that it might be making easier or tougher. And so I am a huge fan of understanding our introversion and extroversion as ourselves and in our kids, because it changes your approach to everything and
Yeah,
their reaction to anything.
very
So
true.
knowing your child is the first C. Have you
Hmm.
thoughts on that one?
Yeah, because I have of my two teen boys, I think one is super social. And so we've got the can I have Snapchat because I'm being left out of just party invites because I don't understand why they can't just text. But apparently all the talking is happening on Snapchat in that age group. And then the other one rarely uses Snapchat. His friends, he just has a small group of like intimate friends and they talk. So it's totally different based on not only is it, I think, the child's personality, it's also their friend group and their social circles.
Yeah. And that's why you could go so deep with all the different things. But if you
Yes.
just start with understanding your child, are they introvert or extrovert? And how does this device, how does social media, what is it, what is it, what are they using it for? What does it fill? What is it becoming a crutch for if they're just introvert, extrovert? And I had a mom ask me recently, well, how do I know? Because I feel like they show signs of both being introvert sometimes and
Sure.
extrovert sometimes. I relate to that too. It's kind
Yeah,
of
me
sliding.
too.
But there was a really great article I read years and years ago that sparked my obsession with understanding introverts and extroverts. And it talked about, imagine your kid gets a birthday party invite to a backyard water party. And there's going to be water guns and what sprinklers and little mini pools. And they said the introvert, and I have one of each as well, will need to get there early to let the excitement build around them. They'll scan the backyard to assess danger at every corner because they're smart enough and they can play out. I'm going to get shot in the eye, so I need to go in softly. I need to assess the situation, let the excitement build around me, and I'm going to stand in the smart places to where I'm not in the middle of all the shooting of the water. To a T. That's like
Yeah.
kind of a stereotypical introvert approach to a backyard water party. The extrovert can walk in 15 minutes late when water guns are blazing with their goggles and their swimsuits, walking out in the middle of it, hold their fingers up and be fired on from all the water guns.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me so much. And if you think about which simple way, which of your kid is that? There's so much more you could talk about, but and then think about if you've got a device that's your connection with your friends, that's something to do socially, think about how an introvert uses that or how an extrovert uses it. And then it starts to you pay attention to the other C's that we'll get to now that
Mhm.
you're kind of thinking introvert, extrovert, my child, specific to my child. The next one is the content. So child, then content. And all, again, this is American Academy of Pediatrics. What content is getting their attention? How are they using the content? What effect is it having on them? And then I would again apply that introvert and extrovert lens, because I think you might think about the content your kids are consuming, how they're using it, how it affects them, probably also applies to your one introvert and your one extrovert. Do you
Mhm.
have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's one that I think the introvert sometimes takes it also happens to be a little more sensitive than the other one. So I think, I think if they see stuff, they internalize it a little more. Where the extrovert, and I don't know, if I don't have a psychology degree, but I think the extrovert kind of is able to blow it off a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I'm trying to assess
Yeah.
that, but their personalities are definitely so different. So I do see what bothers them and what doesn't when they come to me with a problem with the screens or group chats and that kind of stuff.
And then that goes to the third C, which is calm. How do they calm themselves? All the kids need to learn is to strategize how to manage how they calm themselves, disconnect themselves. Is it a video or music on their device that calms them? Is it kind of taking a break from a busy school day where they have to watch kind of a show? How can you use this in a good way that's a healthy way, and then it
Hmm.
helps them pay attention to how they're feeling? And some, like, I can just think of two examples, like a really active extroverted kid might get stuck in the YouTube loop of like the constant,
Yes.
wild and crazy trick shots and all the things, and they can't sit still, and then their attention span shortens. And another one might listen to relaxation music and or ASMR where they're just listening to this like soft sound of like toothbrush on a balloon or something. I mean, it's so interesting how they choose to use it, but paying attention to that content, being aware of it as
Mm-hmm.
your parents, thinking through that lens. The next one is, and I really love this one, the C is for crowding. What is it crowding out? So what is it pushing aside? It's
Mm-hmm.
the time. I'm going to look at my notes here about what they want to get back. So what has it started to suck them into, and is it taking away from time outside with feet in the grass and play and sitting quietly, reading a book? In my experience, I know there were periods of time where I felt like all my kids did was on their devices, and they weren't reading, and they weren't
Yeah.
outside, and they weren't playing it with real people, meaning real people in the room, not online. So
Right.
what is it crowding out? And how can you maybe address that and talk through that? I'm a big fan of talking, which is the fifth C is communications. Talking about how you're feeling, how it makes you feel. I used to remember say to my kids when I say like brain rot, or are you in zombie mode because you've been on the
Mm-hmm.
device too long? And I would say, now you're kind of crabby, you haven't eaten, you're being short, you're kind of in this dark room, and you come out of it and you're like this little ogre that's appearing
Yes.
from dark space. How does that make you feel? And talk about, look how just lazy you feel and how just kind of blah and zombie-esque. And then get them outside, make them go to the family thing, get them out to, I mean, we used to say we're going to Deanna Rose just to get out of the way and get outside and do something. And then you're like, oh, now see how you're feeling right now. You're happy, you're fun, you're back to what the self that I recognize. And
Right.
talking through that seemed to help. Does that seem to resonate with you?
Yes, for sure. I kind of use the platform to my advantage. I will send things I find on the platform about like the short
Uh,
videos and the attention span, and I send them to the boys so that they see what I'm seeing, so that they know when I set screen limits why I'm doing what I'm
yeah.
doing. So I'm a big fan of sending them memes that either make them laugh or make them aware of like, is it time to get off? Because this is starting to rot your brain.
Yeah, well, and I think that what you just described is another thing people have found is very helpful is being on the apps they're on, so you
Yes.
learn how they work, you learn if there's chat, and Google is your best friend. Does this
Yes.
app come with chat? And it was always back when my kids were little, my biggest fear was they're going to end up chatting with some random stranger, and they to this
Yes.
day make fun of the line I always used to say. I want you to imagine the other person on the other line, some stranger, that's like danger, like
Yes.
because you don't know who they are. And
Right.
so they still, to this day, they're older and they still like, well, it could be a stranger on the other end. And I'm like, look, at least it resonated with you.
Right.
But I do think being on those apps, and it takes time. I feel so bad. All of us moms are so busy. I've worked full
Yes.
time my entire adult life. I'm working here today, but
Right.
we are all busy. I don't know when we have time, but I would say that probably what at least worked the best for me, and everybody has to figure out what works best for them. And I am not a psychologist either. I'm just a mom who's trying to figure it out and have made
Right.
mistakes, but is knowing the apps, Googling how to set the safety stuff, learning it yourself, taking that time is a game changer. I remember researching how to set all these passwords and like restrictions, and I
Yes.
still don't know how to change the Netflix restriction, so my kids still can't watch certain movies because they're still restricted because I've forgotten the password. But playing the apps, I remember learning how to play the games they played. I'm on Snapchat because of them, so they're the
Yes.
only ones I really engage with. And there's one little extra thing that I think is fantastic when your kids start to get a little bit older. If you can get them to start a streak with you on Snapchat, it is an amazing thing to keep going and a way to stay connected in a world your kids understand and they're on anyway. And then
Okay.
you're learning and staying connected. My kid who went off to college, we started a snap streak, and we're like 600 plus strong now. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have that, because it's our one chance to every day just have a quick little connect. Even if we don't talk all week, we'll have that quick connect. So there are beautiful things about a lot of these platforms as well.
I do. I like that tip because my freshman just asked for Snapchat, and I we're testing the waters this month to see. But I do like that. I will say I'm on Instagram with them too, and we have gotten some great family recipes because the boys will
Oh,
send
yes.
me things that they want me to cook.
It's so
Um,
true.
and so I do feel like that has created a little bit of a
Yeah.
weird bond. Like it's hard with, I think, especially with boys and a mom as they get older, they start to push away. And so I love that you shared that you can use the platform for good too.
Yeah.
They're not all bad, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is the world they're living in, and we do need to find the right balance of using it and teaching them healthy balance of using it for good.
And I think it's true for every age, right? For the little kids, preschool and grade school, it's a totally different world than it becomes when they're in high school. But I at least am a fan of helping them learn to live in this world that they will never not have technology, talking about it, being open about it, kind of following the American Academy of Pediatrics, those 5 C's, just to help give yourself some starting points to think. Again, your child specific, the content, calm, routing out, and communication. I think it's really great guidance. There's a lot of great resources from them. But and then growing with them where it's not a restriction, it's not a pretend like it doesn't exist because that's the world we live in, but it's about figuring out what's right for your kid for the right
Hmm.
kind of exposure that feels safe to you, and then learning with them so that you're aware and understanding of the platforms they're on, the devices they're using. Um, and I know chat's forever going to be my I can remember that being my biggest fear was who are they chatting with? And so
Hmm.
understanding chat within the games
Right.
like Roblox or Discord on, any of those um, would be important to be aware of and just occasionally, normalize and maybe play with them. And my sister learned to play Minecraft because her kids were playing, and so she got on and learned how to play, and then kind of created an environment where they were younger, and so she could play with them. She learned it with them, and they can talk about it. So
Hmm.
sometimes that's a good thing to do as well.
Right. So, and kind of just wrapping up, are there other things that you feel like our audience, should take away from this movie or things that they should be aware of as we kind of wrap up summer? I know kids start to get bored of going to the pool and things. So, like, what advice could we give them for the last month, like about managing screen time?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is more like I want to talk to the moms and like just have a mom conversation.
Yeah.
But like, I think that kids will come away from the movie with like a kind of a recognition of, wow, I have felt what Bonnie felt. I have
Hmm.
experienced some version of that. And so, what an opportunity to have conversations with your kids and then figure out things to do. I'm a huge fan of like the no phone box where you have phone free time certain times a day.
Oh, I like
Some
that.
people do a basket. So we have an old antique box I got at a local at Glenwood Antiques over on 95th and
Hmm.
little wooden box it's got a lid. I see them all the time in antique malls, and we put the phones in and we shut it and we know it's phone free time. And I'm a huge fan of that. We don't do it as much as I wish we would do it, but it's
Yeah.
definitely an
How
option
often
for
do
the
you do
family.
that? Is that like a certain day of the week
I
or is
mean,
it during dinner?
this is where I would say do what I think is recommended than what we do. But I mean, I think ideally you have daily time where you've got some
Okay.
phone free time that everybody, and I'm a huge fan of my phone. I can be on it all the time, but that everybody recognizes the value of that time to take a break. During meals, we try to keep them down. We don't always put them in the box. We do try to keep them away. And but I do think once a day is not a bad idea, if nothing else, and just to recognize how it makes you feel to kind of get. I don't know if you've ever done this. I'll be on the phone on hold searching for my phone.
Oh,
Where
all
I
the
oh
time.
so it's a habit. It's a habit.
Yes,
And so
it is a bad.
learning to break the habit for ourselves as
Yes.
mothers, for our kids to pay attention to how that feels. And the big thing on grounding right now where you get outside, put your feet in the grass, sit in the sun, touch a tree. Like I'm a huge fan of where this is kind of genuinely heading by this generation of kids. And I can't wait to see how they learn to evolve and what they teach us as they learn how to navigate in a world where they've never known a device free
Yeah.
world. So it's
Yeah.
going to be kind of fun to watch, but I think very cognizant of the implications and how to best have that device free time. So I think
Yeah.
the movie's going to be a good conversation starter and help people think differently.
I agree. At the end of the movie, after when we got home, my daughter Anna was 10 and she went and got all so I started playing with them, and I think it's because it like showed like how the toys have feelings too, and maybe she's neglecting them. It was, and I asked her about it. She's like, "No, I just felt like playing with toys," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah, they may
So
not understand, but I do think it resonates with them
yeah,
for
it
sure. And
warmed my
she's in
heart.
that they're in that when they're in that transition age to go from
Yes,
toys to the more, and again, we went through it when we were that age. We just
sure.
had different things you started getting interested
Yes,
in, makeup or dressing
yes,
differently, or but it's and or like hanging out with different friends and going to the mall versus staying home and playing dolls. So for the beginning of time, people have been going through that transition.
yes.
It's a very I never will forget. I did an interview with the FBI agent in charge here in Kansas City several years back, and he said, if you remember, when we were growing up, the neighborhood was really their circle. Then it
Hmm.
got to the point where when school districts were redrawn, they'd have like a district that was their neighborhood. And then when phones got put in their hands, the whole world
Yeah,
was like in your backyard or in your neighborhood. And that always resonated with me.
yes.
And that really is the truth. They have access to everything unless you can help them put the restrictions in place, help talk about it. And then YouTube, I just make sure that you don't have that. What's it called? I wanted to make sure and tell it if they don't have used to be big in on this, but I forgot the note of it. But make sure you don't have it set up where it auto plays because then it's going to
Okay,
end up the algorithm will change it. There's a way you can turn off autoplay, and you can Google how to do it on every device is
okay,
different. Google how to do it on the apps on Android or but that's another big one they recommend. The experts recommend because it'll keep it from just auto playing where it gets further and further from the content they're choosing and into like content that is being served up to them that isn't always what you would pick. So
okay. I
that
love
was one thing I meant to say. So,
Yeah, I love that. Very concrete things. The phone box, turn
yep,
off the YouTube autoplay, and just really have some conversations with your kids based on their personalities and who they are and what we think, is the best consumption of it.
yep, and have fun and play with play with your mom and tell her how much you love her.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. Well, thank you so
All
much,
right.
Krista, for being here today. Thank you to Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City for sponsoring this important message for Kansas City families. Blue KC is proud to be the only locally based, not-for-profit health insurer who has served the Kansas City community since 1938.